Women have been involved in movie making since the beginning of cinema history. And on today's episode, we want to highlight some of those amazing women and their contributions to the film industry. Welcome to the Hollywood Makers. Hi everyone, I am Claudia Cano Osbjörnsson, your host. As we conclude the celebration of Women's History Month, and we come to the end of award season for 2023-2024, here at the Hollywood Makers, we wanted to take the time to highlight the history of women in film. We also want to remember and honor the trailblazing women who became the first Oscar nominees and Oscar winners up to date. Women were part of the filmmaking process since the start of cinema history. During the early years, women were more involved in all the aspects of the industry, more so than men. Women were writers, directors, producers, actresses, editors, designers, and so much more. And as we come to the end of Women's History Month, we want to highlight and remember some of those pioneers that paved the way for women in the industry. Let's start way back, in the beginning, when everything was silent. Two of the women that were recognized as true trailblazers during the silent film era were Alice Guy Blaché and Louise Weber. Alice Guy Blaché was born in 1873 and died in 1968. She was the first woman to ever direct a film. It is said that she directed over 700 films in her lifetime. Her film, The Cabbage Fairy, was considered by historians as the first fictional narrative film ever made. See, back in the day, film only was used to capture real-life images, but Alice was the first to combine film and storytelling. She was also the first to try out different techniques in editing and filmmaking, like close-ups, split screen, and even added color by hand-painting each frame. Alice also portrayed women in very important roles while exploring social issues. The other trailblazer during the silent film era was Louise Weber. She was born in 1879 and died at the age of 60 in 1939. She was the first woman to own a film studio, and she was also the first and only female member of the Motion Pictures Directors Association, which later became the Directors Guild of America. Louise was also the only woman part of the founding members of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. It has been said that Barbra Streisand was the first woman to write, direct, produce, and star in a movie. But it was Louise Weber who did it first. She was considered a pioneer in the industry, and she addressed many controversial issues in her films, including birth control, racial and political justice, poverty, and capital punishment. One of the first female directors that was openly gay during the silent film era was Dorothy Arzner. Dorothy was born in 1897 and died in 1979. Even though she worked during the silent film era as an editor, writer, and director, it was her contributions to transition to movies with sound that was the most invaluable. She is credited with inventing the boom mic. They say that she dangled a microphone from a fishing rod, and voila! Dorothy directed more than 20 feature films, giving her one of the largest feature filmographies of any woman in Hollywood. In the 1940s, Dorothy became a professor at UCLA, where she taught famous director Francis Ford Coppola. In many cases, the ones that received the most praise are in front of the camera, and that was the case for many actresses that became iconic in cinema. One of those women was Mary Pickford. Mary Pickford was born in Canada in 1892 and died in Hollywood at the age of 87 in 1979. She was a pioneer in the movie business and helped make acting a craft. She was known as America's sweetheart and the girl with the curls. Along with her husband Douglas Fairbanks, Pickford founded the Pickford Fairbanks Studio. Later, they also founded United Artists, along with Charlie Chaplin and D.W. Griffith. Mary Pickford was also one of the founding members of the Academy. Mary won her first Academy Award for Best Actress in 1929 for Coquette, her first movie with sound. Later, in 1976, she received an honorary Oscar for her contributions to the development of the movie industry. Other iconic actresses that have made history in the world of cinema are renowned names like Katharine Hepburn, who won 4 Academy Awards in a career that spanned over 60 years. Names like Bette Davis, who also had a career of more than 6 decades with over 100 films. She became the first woman to become president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. And who could forget the beautiful Audrey Hepburn, who was the first actress ever to win an Oscar, Golden Globe, and BAFTA award for her role in the film Roman Holiday. One actress that was just not iconic in the film industry, but also changed the world with her invention was Hedy Lamarr. Once promoted as the world's most beautiful woman, Hedy was definitely more than just looks. Along with composer George Antheil, during World War II, they developed a technology that assisted Allies by guiding torpedoes. That frequency tech influenced the development of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth technology used today. Women were also distinguishing themselves in other areas of cinema, including costume design, editing, and visual effects. But unfortunately, the Oscar nominations and wins were spread thin through the years. Let's review some of the most remarkable women who became the first to receive Academy Award nominations and those who won the coveted award. Starting with Janet Gaynor, who was the first to win the award for Best Actress in 1929. She was the first in the history of the Oscars. In 1930, Frances Marion won the Oscar for Best Screenplay for The Big House. She was the first woman to win in writing categories and the first person to win multiple wins in writing. In 1934, Anne Bouchans was the first woman to be nominated for Best Film Editing for Cleopatra. 7 years later, in 1940, she became the first woman to win for Best Film Editing for the movie Northwest Mounted Police. In 1939, Hattie McDaniel became the first African American to win and be nominated for an Academy Award as supporting actress for her role in Gone with the Wind. In 1949, Edith Head received an Oscar nomination for The Emperor's Waltz, the first of her 35 nominations, including 8 wins, making her both the most honored costume designer and woman in the Academy Award history. She's considered to be one of the greatest and most influential costume designers in film. In 1954, Dorothy Dandridge was the first African American actress to be nominated for Best Actress for her role in Carmen Jones. In 1974, Julia Phillips became the first female producer to receive an Oscar for Best Picture, sharing the win for the movie The Sting. She shared another nomination in 1977 for Taxi Driver. In 1982, Bono Ataya was the first woman of color to win and be nominated for Best Costume Design for the movie Gandhi. She shared the win with John Molo. In 1986, Susan M. Benson was the first woman to win and be nominated for Best Visual Effects for her work in the movie Aliens. She shared the win with Robert Skotak, Stan Winston, and John Richardson. In 1992, Ruth E. Carter received her first nomination for Best Costume Design for Malcolm X. She was the first African American and Black woman to be nominated for Best Costume Design. It was 26 years later, in 2018, that she became the first African American to win Best Costume Design for the movie Black Panther. In 2002, Halle Berry became the first Black woman to win the Best Actress Oscar for her role in Monsters Ball. In 2007, Marjane Satrapi was the first woman to be nominated for Best Animated Feature for her movie Persepolis. She shared the nomination with Vincent Paronnaud. In 2010, Kathryn Bigelow became the 4th woman nominated and the first woman to win the Best Director Oscar for the movie The Hurt Locker. In 2011, Jennifer Yu Nelson was the first woman of color to be nominated for Best Animated Feature for Kung Fu Panda 2. That same year, Laura Hirschberg had the first Oscar win for a woman in the category of Best Sound Mixing for the movie Inception. It was the next year, in 2012, that Brenda Chapman became the first woman to win the Best Animated Feature for Brave. She shared the win with Mark Andrews. In 2013, Lupita Nyong'o won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for her role in 12 Years a Slave. It was her debut film performance, and she was the first Afro-Latina actress to be nominated and win an Academy Award. In 2014, Oprah Winfrey was the first woman of color to be nominated for Best Picture for Selma. She shared the nomination with Christian Coulson and Jeremy Kleiner. 2018 brought Rachel Morrison the first nomination for a woman in the Best Cinematography category for the movie Mudbound. It was also in 2018 that Gabriela Rodriguez became the first Latina to be nominated for Best Picture, along with Alfonso Cuarón for the movie Roma. In 2019, Maya C. Rubio was the first Latina to be nominated for Best Costume Design for Jojo Rabbit. 2021, Yvette Moreno became the first Latina to win and be nominated for Best Animated Feature for the movie Encanto. She shared the win with Jared Bush, Byron Howard, and Clark Spencer. And this past year, 2023, Kiyoko Shibuya became the first woman of color to win and be nominated for Best Visual Effects for the movie Godzilla Minus One. She shared the win with Takashi Yamasaki, Masaki Takahashi, and Tatsuya Nojima. Interesting to note that even though women were such an instrumental part of the success of cinema since the beginning, the recognitions for their work have been very sparse. We are happy and proud to salute and congratulate all the women who broke ground, becoming the first to be nominated in each category. But why, oh why, did it take so long for each woman to become the first? Why are there so many years in between winners? And why, out of 400 nominated directors since the Oscars started in 1929, only 8 of those directors were women, and only 3 of them have won the Oscar to date? If women have contributed so much to the industry, we hope that we get to see more equality in the way that we are paid and the way that we are recognized for our work. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our segment, The Ones to Watch. First on the list is Problemista. Problemista tells the story of Alejandro, an aspiring toy designer from El Salvador struggling to bring his unusual ideas to life in New York City. As time on his work visa runs out, a job assisting an erratic art world outcast becomes his only hope to stay in the country and realize his dream. From writer-director Julio Torres comes a surreal adventure through the equally treacherous worlds of New York City and the U.S. immigration system. Interesting facts about Problemista. Julio Torres not only writes, directs, and produces the film, he also stars as Alejandro. The story is loosely based on Julio's life and all the odd jobs and encounters he had as he dealt with his immigration status and creative lifestyle. Julio was a writer for Saturday Night Live and was the co-creator, writer, and executive producer of the HBO series Los Spookies. Julio was not originally set to direct Problemista. It was his co-star Tilda Swinton that encouraged him to direct his story. Costuming provided an early key to tapping into Tilda's character's unruliness. Julio said coming up with the wig was one of the most joyful experiences he had. He wanted her hair texture to fight her choice of haircut. Next on the Wants to Watch is Monkey Man. If you like action movies, then this one is definitely one to watch. Inspired by the legend of Hanuman, an icon embodying strength and courage, Monkey Man stars Patel as Kid, an anonymous young man who lives in an underground fight club where, night after night, wearing a gorilla mask, is beaten bloody by more popular fighters for cash. After years of suppressed rage, Kid discovers a way to infiltrate the enclave of the city's sinister's elite. As his childhood trauma boils over, his mysteriously scarred hands unleash an explosive campaign of retribution to settle the score with the men who took everything from him. Monkey Man is Dev Patel's directorial debut. He's starring, producing, co-writing, and directing the film. Dev Patel broke his foot and then broke his hand while filming. A doctor had to put a screw in his hand, and he was not supposed to use the hand for a while. But he still went back to film the action sequences with a small cast. Dev said on an interview that his crew made t-shirts with a picture of the screw that was used to fix his broken hand during filming. They're like, "This is the screw that kept the production afloat," he said. The film went into production in India, but was shut down during COVID, and the set was relocated to a small island in Indonesia. Many of the team members working behind the scenes had to become actors due to the restrictions at the time. Dev Patel received a standing ovation during the premiere of Monkey Man at South by Southwest. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe, and become part of our community of the Hollywood Makers. Till next time.